Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. And Phil, the hoops calendar starting to fill up a little bit more as we enter August and creep ever closer to the basketball season.
In Philadelphia, it rarely shuts down. But we want to talk about a special weekend that involves community, hoops, and righteous causes. So much on Make a Difference has been about causes and rallying people and pals last week. It's just been goosebumps to think of. We can be out there. There's so many people helping, and now we have another event, the Danny Rump Classic, August 7th through 11th at Drexel University. Let's appreciate Drexel's commitment to the community, right? They're giving their facility, right, to the Danny Rump Classic. What do? They raise awareness about hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is the leading cause of sudden cardiac arrest. What do? Men's pro serious players, women's serious players, youth games, youth showcases, a community clinic. Shout out to Danny's mom, Candy Owens, lost her son and turned that grief into this classic, this Philadelphia staple. Started in 2005 to honor the memory of Danny, who was a ball player. And then the schedule. Think about this schedule. Men's games again on Friday night. Women pro games. Next, Bright Stars Clinic, right? There's an alumni game, and the alumni list goes on and on and on from guys that played, and then it closes up with a middle school showcase game, middle school girls showcase game, and championship games. They touch all aspects. We're going to put out all of their hashtags and where you can get there, but this is for basketball junkies to get out there, support the community. And Danny Rump, the Danny Rump Classic, thank you to everybody that reached out, that gave us this information. And maybe, as the wheels spin, maybe a year from now, that's where we do a Make a Difference live shot. That would be pretty cool.
Sounds pretty fun to me.
I hear you. I mean, some of these players, it's Jalen Brunson has played, and James Harden has played. Bobby Portis has played. And they come because it's Philly basketball. And later in our guest segment, we're going to do a whole thing about Philly. But before we do that, you know what has to come first.
Of course, we got to get to the Martelli Minute.
Martelli Minute. And where do you find that?
You find it on Instagram every morning at 6:30 a.m.
Even in the summer.
At Phil_Martelli, even in the summer.
And it's free.
Completely free.
You go there and you get a little bit of pearls, a couple of pearls. So we're going to start. Oh, and we have to give a shout out to Status Solutions. Status Solutions, finding safety for kids in school. StatusSolutions.com. StatusSolutions.com. Let's make sure that every kid in every community can come and go to school safely. So today we start with be present. Every meeting, every interaction, every conversation, be present. Dream big. And dream big will come back with our guest, because our guest was told no, but he kept dreaming and he made it to the show. When facing challenges, make the decision to show up. Then use faith and trust to move forward. But the first thing you must do is show up. Choose to give more than you take. I'll repeat that. Choose to give more than you take, and you will get more than you ever imagined. It's a byproduct. Give more than you take, and all of a sudden you're getting more than you can imagine. This is really important. Love yourself. Love yourself. you're worth it. Become the guiding light that someone else needs. Everybody out there needs. But if you can become the shining light, the guiding light that someone else needs, there's real value. And then the last segment is this: get ready to star in your own life story. Get ready to star in your own life story. And certainly, our guest has starred in his life story. Can't wait to get to the guest segment today. Martelli Minute. Where do you get it?
Every morning at 6:30 a.m. on Instagram at Phil_Martelli. And it is free. No paywall there.
Nope.
That's
I
correct.
don't know what a paywall is, but there is not one there. The Make a Difference podcast has really centered on our guest segment. And we've covered all aspects of Philadelphia, college basketball, and professional sport. Today's really centers on Philadelphia. So for a professional athlete in Philadelphia, for a public figure in Philadelphia, it's a city that demands. It demands grit. It demands work ethic. It demands passion. And really, they, the Philadelphians, want to know you. They may never really know you, but they want to feel like they know you. Basically, in Philadelphia, they demand that you care. Our guest is a true Philadelphian. Yeah, grew up in California and drafted from California, but he's a true Philadelphian, not just for his stats, not for his 5 All-Star game appearances, multiple gold gloves, his world championship, but most importantly, his relatability. There are dudes all over the Delaware Valley who at one point in their lives were 5'10" and 155 pounds, and they go into a corner establishment or they go onto a diamond somewhere in this city in the Delaware Valley, and they say, if I had gotten my shot, I would be Larry Bowa. Can you imagine on our podcast that we got Larry Bowa, undrafted, one team interested in him, one team in allowing him to fulfill his dream of being a major leaguer? And how about this one? A scout went to see Larry Bowa in a doubleheader. And Larry Bowa, in true Philadelphian style, got thrown out of both ends of the doubleheader, and yet the Phillies still signed him after he played for that scout's team. And here it is. A Philadelphia legend, a world champion. Larry, thanks for joining Make a Difference.
Oh, my pleasure, Phil. I appreciate the accolades and everything. And as you well know, you've been in sports a long time. It's being at the right place at the right time, taking advantage of an opportunity, and basically using all the negative articles that you used to read about yourself and turn them into positive. So that's basically what motivated me. They said I was too small. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. And the fact that my dad played professional baseball, he got as high as AAA. You know, he told me, hey, you don't have to be 6'2" and 185, 200 pounds to play this game. So the stick-to-itiveness that I had through my dad in particular carried over in professional ranks. And again, I'm very fortunate. The man upstairs saved me from injuries. I didn't have a lot of injuries. And as you said, I am a Philadelphian. I have never gone back after the 1970 season here. I go back to see my sister and relatives, but as far as living, I've been here since 1970.
Wow. And there was a little nugget in there. There was a little nugget. I wasn't going to go down this path. It hadn't occurred to me. But Larry, how about the number of teammates that you've had or players through the Philadelphia organization or professional athletes in general who say, I never read anything they say about me. That's bullshit.
I think that's BS myself. I mean, even back when we played, you know, we had the radio stations. Obviously, you don't like to hear it when you're going bad, You like when things are going good, you turn it full blast, but when things aren't going good, sometimes it's intriguing just turning it on and seeing what people have to say. Most of the times, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes they're not on cue of what's happening. But for the most part, Philadelphia fans are unbelievably knowledgeable, and you're not going to pull the wool over anybody's eyes here. They're going to pick you out real quick if you're not giving 100% every time you put the uniform on. I was told a long time ago, when you play baseball, it's 9 innings, 27 outs. No matter what the score is, you could be losing by 10, winning by 10. Play the game like it's your last game.
Wow.
And I try to take that philosophy with me every time I put that uniform on. And when I first got called up in 70, I was on the lines, Phil, and I said, man, if I could stay here for a month, that would be the greatest thing in the world. And then obviously I got a month, and then I said maybe half a year. Then I got that. Well, I ended up playing 17 years in the big league. So uh, again, taking advantage of opportunities, being in the right place at the right time. When I came up with the Phillies, it was a rebuilding team. If it was a real good team, maybe I would have never played in the big leagues. It was a rebuilding team. They let me play, got my feet on the ground, and then we had that great run from 75 on where we got in the playoffs, couldn't get over the hump, and eventually in 80 we did what we were supposed to do and won the World Series.
Any moment in time on this journey where not self-doubt, but you just thought enough is enough? Was there ever a point in time where you said, I can't stay the course?
You know what? How about my very first game in A-ball? I go to spring training, never been out of California. So I'm going to spring training in Florida. I make the team for the Spartanburg Phillies, played shortstop. Bob Wellman was the manager. And my very first game, I wasn't switch hitting then. I was just hitting right-handed. I struck out 4 times in a row. And I'm sitting there by my locker, and the manager came over and he says, "Are you okay?" And I said, I called him Skip. I said, "Hey, Skip, if big league baseball is like this," I said, "you might as well send me back home." I said, "I had no chance tonight." And he told me, he said, "This guy's going to be something special." And I'm figuring, he's giving me the coach player attitude, trying to pump me up a little bit. Don't get too down. Well, the player turned out to be Nolan Ryan, so he was something special.
Wow.
But he got me 4 times in my very first game. And then, I sat down and went, wow, I got a lot of work to do.
How about he played A-ball? Nolan Ryan played A-ball.
Yep.
And now we have, and I say this affectionately, we have all these Philadelphia GMs out there that can't wait to get this kid that was just drafted a month ago. Well, he'll be here in September. He'll be in the back end of the bullpen. No, he'll be buying a ticket like the rest of us to see the playoffs.
It's unbelievable how people, a lot of GMs really feel that they don't need that minor league experience. I mean, there's a growth period, man. I mean, we're finding out right now about Painter, and I love Painter. He's going to be a #1 starter, but he didn't come back and just breeze through AAA right now. He's having his ups and downs. This game's a tough game, Phil, as you well know. You've been involved in sports. Uh, as soon as you think you get this game licked, you get humbled really quick. You got to take the ups and downs, hope the ups outnumber the downs. But it's a game that there's a lot of reality checks. You start going good, you think hey, I'm pretty good. I can do this and that. And before you know it, you're 0 for 15. And you say, whoop, got to go back to the drawing board.
Larry, I think that's probably the most interesting thing about maybe baseball to me is just that runway to success is so much longer than any sport. I mean, you look at a guy that can step into the NBA at 18, 19 years old and be a difference maker. And I feel like in baseball, it's like even like there's a once in a lifetime Bryce Harper who could just actually play in the league right away. But I mean, it just never happens, right? Why is that with baseball?
Well, I think most of all, in basketball in particular, and I'm going to even say football, there's not, in football, they have the Canadian League, but there's no minor leagues. And these guys that play basketball are really good athletes. They're probably saying, and if there are baseball players, they're probably saying, I don't want to go ride buses for 2 years in A-ball and AA when I can go to the NBA and play right away. So I think that has a lot to do. In the football, the same way. These guys get drafted #1, #2 in college. There's no minor leagues. They're going right to the NFL. Whereas in baseball, you got, like you said, you have to be something very special, and Harp was. But very seldom do you see guys get drafted and all of a sudden they're putting their uniform on in a big league stadium. There's a maturation process you have to go through, and it's completely different. When you play baseball every day, you got to deal with ups, downs, good pitchers, bad pitchers, conditions. There's so many things that go into it. and you got to stay the course. And if you're good enough, you're going to find a way to get to the big leagues.
We've been around each other at a number of different occasions, and obviously, I watch you at the ballpark and watched you play, and I had that iconic picture in my head of you jumping for joy the last day out in 1908. But that's the way you live your life. The joy that you bring every day to the ballpark, every day to an event, was that a learned behavior, or is that who Larry Bowa has always been? You full of joy.
You know what, Phil? I think I had to go that extra mile because, like, I don't want to use size as a detriment, but let's face it, I weighed 150 pounds when I first came to the big leagues. I wasn't very tall. I wasn't very muscular, and my dad always said, when you play, if you don't get any hits, you got to steal a base, you got to make a play, you got to go first to third, you got to pump your teammates up when things aren't going good. And I tried to live by that creed because, I wasn't a home run hitter. I had a bunch of guys that I played with, Schmitty and Lazinski, that took care of all that stuff. But the little things, when you're not a quote unquote superstar player, you got to be able to do all that stuff, whether it be motivating guys with you in the dugout, talking the game after, uh, overcoming an 0 for 20 and winning a game the next day. Those are mental things. And I'm a firm believer, and I know you can verify this, Phil. If you want to play in Philadelphia and you're soft, you're in the wrong city. It's not going to work. You got to be mentally tough. You got to shut out the noise when things aren't going good. And sometimes that's hard. But, I think that's why the fans are so great. When you're doing good, it's the greatest place in the world to play. And when you're not doing good, it'll bring you down to reality real quick and saying, hey, I got to work a little bit harder, because they're going to let you know when you're doing things good and when you're doing things bad.
If you were to visit with your younger self, there's a lot of life lessons in your journey, and you've given those already but if you were to visit with your younger self, what would be your messaging?
Oh, man, that's a good one. My message probably would have been the very first year that in high school, I got cut. And he didn't say I wasn't good enough. He said I was too small. And maybe sometimes I had that chip on my shoulder. I would have loved to have just play this game without a chip. Just say, hey, you know what? I'm good enough. I don't care how big I am. I can play this. But that was something that I had needed for me to motivate myself. And I used to watch Mike Schmidt, who I think is one of the greatest players to ever put on a uniform, not just in Philly, ever, and how effortless everything was. He might take 15 or 20 ground balls, and I'm out there taking 50 to 75, and I'm going, why am I doing this? And I look at Mike's ability, and I'm going, I know why I'm doing it, because I'm nowhere near what he is. So I think in that aspect, when I see guys that are really, really good, I think it pushed me. And I wouldn't change really anything, Phil, because I I look back on my career, and I played with a lot of good players, but I also played with some guys that I talk to now that when we get in a conversation, they say, I wish I could have done that, or I wish I'd have done that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you right now, there's nothing as I look back on my career that I can say I wish I'd have done this better, because I did everything I wanted to do for a guy with not great ability. I got over 2,000 hits. I played 17 years. I won a World Series, Manager of the Year. I won all that stuff. And to look back on that and to actually think about where I was at the time, my very first year, I got cut. But my mom and dad kept saying, you can do this. You're all right. Don't let this get you down. That stick to itiveness to me helped me become a better individual as a player and as a person. Because I never really had anything handed to me. I had to earn everything. And I look back at that, and I'm glad I had to do. My dad was strict. My dad was strict, and we had discipline in our family. My sister and I. And the thing that I look at now, Phil, is when I'm watching these games are played with no discipline whatsoever. It's hitters get up and see how far they can hit it. Pitchers throw 100 miles an hour. It doesn't matter if it's a strike. We're going to throw 100 miles an hour. We don't teach guys now, as I say, when you go to these young kids, we don't teach them how to win baseball games. We teach them how to be individuals. See how far I can hit this. Watch my arm. See how far I can throw it. And I think what happens in these travel league games, we need to spend more time on teaching kids how to win baseball games or football or basketball. It's not all about your trend or your vision yourself. You got to think of a team. And I think travel ball is really ruining these young kids because it's all about individual things. There's no team aspect whatsoever in that.
Everything, and this is across society. Look at me,
Right.
whether it's through social media or whatever. Look
Right.
at me, and the successful CEO, the successful baseball player, successful teacher has a we, not a me mentality.
I agree with that.
We are
And
pushing. We are
I,
pushing. Look at
I
me.
agree with that a lot. Uh, I just wonder why the generations, there's so much, it's so much different now. And I know I played a while ago, but just watching games and watching guys before the game, uh, when I played a game, Phil, I hated the opponent, literally hated him. And I didn't want to go out in center field running sprints before the game and give him a big hug and say, hey, good luck.
Mm.
And when I see that every night, I turn my head. I'm trying to beat you any way I can. I don't want to see all that. You want to go out after and have dinner, have a beer? Hey, I'm all in on that. Don't be doing this hugging and shaking hands and all this stuff before the game. I'm one of those old school, and it's probably wrong, but that was my motivation. Every time we played when we played Pittsburgh when I was playing, we used to have brawls every time we played them. We didn't like them, and they didn't like us. But when the game was over, we respected each other. But during the game, there was no love lost at all between us. Believe me.
There are an awful lot of meetings, kumbaya meetings at second base anymore. I'm like, what is going on here? Like,
it's
it's
unbelievable.
the same thing, Larry. It's the same thing for me. I'm so crazed about this team and this organization. It crazes me when I watch on television, and they'll take a shot of Ashburn Alley, and there's thousands of people walking. I'm like, you went to the game. Sit down, watch the game.
Exactly.
I'm not knocking the businesses. I hope they make a gazillion dollars.
Oh yeah,
because they had 3 million people coming through the turnstiles there.
Yeah, there's no question.
If you could, you've done a little bit of it. What's the Philadelphia experience, maybe compared to some other places that you've been, from a professional athlete's point of view? The exclusively Philadelphia experience.
Well, I never thought, Phil, that in baseball, I thought in basketball, football, there were home field advantages, hockey, home field, home arena advantages. I never thought there was a home field advantage in baseball because that guy standing 60 feet 6 inches can change that. But I've changed my mind since at the bank here. Uh, it's 3 hours of hell if you're coming in here to play in the playoffs. And these fans, they know they're getting to these teams coming in, especially if it's a young team who's never been through anything like this. I think every player should experience playing in Philadelphia. It's the greatest high you could ever get. And again, like it happened a long time ago winning the World Series. I can go somewhere into a pub.
Yes, sir.
Before I know it, I got a beer. Somebody says, hey, thank you. Just stuff like that. They remember players that won. They remember teams that won. They remember coaches that were successful. They remember you at St. Joe's that were successful. They don't forget. And I think that's the biggest difference. I was out in LA with Joe Torre coaching the Dodgers. They come in the third and they leave in the seventh. There's so many other things to do out there. If you win, fine. If you lose, no big deal. The closest thing I think to come to Philly, and I don't think they're anywhere near us, but they're close, is Boston. Their fan base is really tough. Our fan base is great and tough. The Yankees, so since they moved into that new ballpark, it's a different type of fan that comes in there now. It's not like that old school where the old stadium was up. But Philly's a town where you got to be able to deal with failure here, because when you play baseball, think about this. The greatest hitters in baseball make 7 outs every 10 at bats. Those guys are in the Hall of Fame. They make 7 outs every 10 at bats. And if you were a heart surgeon and you had 7 guys that didn't make it off that table, you think you're still going to be being a heart surgeon? You're gone. But in baseball, that's why you got to be able to deal with it. I'm not saying you accept failure. You better be able to deal with it, because this is a sport. Over 162 games, there's not too many guys who can say, man, I had a great year all year. I never had a bad week. I never had bad games back to back. It just doesn't happen because it's such a grueling season, and you better be mentally into it for 162 games.
So you've played with Hall of Famers. You are a Hall of Famer. You have everything. The greatest teammate you ever had at any level.
Wow.
Why?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I'd have to say that I played with, that I actually played with, it would be, man, that's tough. I'd have to say a Mike Schmidt because of what he endured his first 4 or 5 years in Philadelphia. To see him go through all the negativity and finally get his due justice towards the end of his career, when people found out, hey, he's not going to be here anymore. His career's coming to an end. Now, every time Mike gets introduced, there's standing ovations. I wish that Mike could have embraced it a little bit better. And Mike will be the first to tell you that he fought it. He fought it. You know, when they started booing him, he had a chip on his shoulder and he didn't like it. He was like a recluse when the first 3 or 4 years with him. He didn't want to talk to writers because things weren't going good. But to see what he did after those sluggish first 2 or 3 years and what he turned out to be, I take my hat off to him, man. He stuck to it, and he became one of the greatest players to ever put that uniform on.
Now, I know you go all over in the organization, giving back to the next generation and probably the next generation after that. What does that look like? And what's the young major professional player, what do they need to know?
I think the biggest thing, Phil, is they need to know the history of this organization. And I'm going to tell you a story here, and I guarantee you're going to say, no way. 2 years ago, and I forget the player, he was a young rookie. In spring training, we're walking out to the complex, and I have the sheet of what field they're on. And he comes up, he says, hey, Bo, what field am I on? I went, you're on Schmidt Field. And he goes, okay, where's that? And I said, it's right over there. And he goes, by the way, how do they get the names of these players? I said, wait a minute. You don't know who Mike Schmidt is? He goes, no. I said, well, you're going to need to do me a favor. This was a young kid. You need to go home tonight, Google it, and you tell me tomorrow what you think of Mike Schmidt. And so he comes back the next day, and he was so embarrassed. He goes, I had no idea. I said, that's why I think kids got it. When you get drafted by an organization like the Phillies, do some research and look at the history of this organization. It's such a great organization. Look at the guys that came up through here. Look at the teams that there's only 2 that won World Series. Take a deep dive into those teams. But the fact that he didn't know who Mike Schmidt was, I almost fell over right there. I went, you got to be kidding me. But stuff like that, I think these young kids, they should do some research. I really do. When you get drafted, whether you're a football player, basketball, whatever you are, and you're drafted by a professional team, do your research and look up the history of that team, what they've done in the city. And I think it's going to make your job a lot easier. Plus, you're going to be able to see what these fans are all about here.
You're not the greatest. You're just the latest. That's what I would tell them. Other than Jameer Nelson, I would say, no, you're the greatest. And the rest of you, but you are not. All right, Bo, we got to do it now. We got to do it.
All right.
This team this year, pump me up. Pump me up.
All right.
I'm pissed that we're not 3.5 games up after
I
losing
know.
yesterday.
You know what, Phil? I really like this team. I like this team because I know there's a lot of teams that did stuff. The one thing we did is when we got Johan, we got him in a trade. We got legit closer right now. In the 9th inning, I'm not saying it's 100%. It's 99.8%. That game's over when he comes in the game. He's just got overpowering stuff. And I take a look at our competition right now. The Mets, they made some nice pickups in the back end of their bullpen. Their starting rotation to me is so-so. It's nothing. I really love our starting rotation. I like with the addition of Johan that our bullpen is going to be solidified. Plus, we're probably going to have 2 of these starters once the playoffs, because I really believe unless we really stub our toes and we have a whole bunch of injuries, we're going to be in the playoffs, but we're only probably have to use 3 starters. So a couple of those guys will go down the bullpen. That's going to solidify that even more. The one thing that bothers me, it doesn't bother me, I'm concerned, is the offense I mean, you take a look. We got all-stars at every position, but it's that inconsistency that keeps popping up, especially in the playoffs. Well, we go into a spell where we swing at everything and we don't get good at bats. And it really doesn't matter how good your pitching is. If you don't score runs, you're not going to win. But if there was a negative, I would say we need a little bit more consistency with our offense because Harp's starting to swing it. Schwarb's been on fire the whole year. I mean, let's face it. This guy, Marshall's coming on. The guy that I think is going to start coming on, and I'm not disappointed, but I know he's better than he's shown. His Stott, I know he's got more in the tank there. JT's come on. I like our team a lot. I would be very disappointed, Phil, if we're not at the finals there, whoever we're playing in the American League. Like I said, if we have a bunch of injuries or some guys get come up short pitching wise, they hurt their arm or something. Stuff happens. But if we can stay healthy, I don't see a team. I think we can get there. I really do.
Pitching and stars. The stars carry you to Broad Street.
Yep.
And Larry, Jared's going to jump in on this, but I continue to argue this. I get it. Eagles all talk all the time.
Right.
There is nothing in Philadelphia that matches the 3, 4, 5-week period of Major League playoff baseball. Nothing like it because it's every day. I don't know how people work. The game ends and you go, okay, who's pitching tomorrow and what's it going to be like? And with this closer, like the show that it does. I'm telling you, playoff baseball carries the day in Philadelphia.
Larry,
it is different. There's no question about that. Playoff baseball is completely different.
It's just a slight notch below the Eagles. It just is.
No, stop.
Well, Larry, we love you. I promise. But
the Eagles have been very successful. There's no question. I think this team here this year, we can win. We can put in my opinion, I think we can have our 3rd world championship team this year. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We need another parade down Broad Street.
I will not sleep till November now.
It's going to be fun.
Larry, I'm sure you felt it that first time Johan came out. It sounded like October in there. That was truly like that gave me chills. That was something truly special.
It was special. And in fact, the last game, the game he didn't pitch because we got a couple more runs because he was up. And it went from a save to a non-save because they were all ready for him to come in. And we got 2 more runs to make it 5-0. So Thompson didn't use him. There were some people disappointed because that is a show, man. You get those phones going and the music and him coming in from center field. That's something people are going to go to the park just to watch that 9th inning because it is special.
They just played 6 home games.
Right.
In the dog days of August. And no crowd less than 41,000. Stop. I'm telling you. All right, Larry. Championship DNA. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And how do you know, like, you have it, right? And it's not just the ring, but a championship DNA with a young kid. What would that feel like?
To be honest, I think I accumulated a lot of that stuff in the early 70s. That tough mentality about you better be mentally tough when you put that uniform on in Philadelphia. No matter if you're a first-year guy, no matter if you're an all-star for 10 years, you better be ready to perform every night. Because I really believe, Phil, that if I didn't play in Philadelphia, all those things that I accomplished individually, I probably wouldn't have made those. There's no question. But this city pushed me to the point where be on time, as far as know where you're supposed to be, playing hitters a certain way, not making mental mistakes. Everyone's going to make physical mistakes. Keep the mental mistakes to a minimum. Physical mistakes are going to happen. You're not knowing how many outs, throwing the wrong plays, missing the cutoff man. Those are things that you're under a magnifying glass. When you start these playoffs, every pitch, every play, every at bat is magnifying 100 times than it was during the season. The focus when you're in the batter's box is 100 times more. Everything is just slowed down, and you're in there. You're saying, "Man, this is a World Series." I really believe that when we finally got over the hump and beat Houston to get to the World Series. People say, was there a lot of pressure when you got to the World Series? To me, the pressure was off once we said we're in the World Series, because we had come up so many times short, whether playing the Big Red Machine or the Dodgers, two real good teams, and they keep beating us. They kept beating us by whether it be a play, an umpire's call, a pitch.
Oh,
And then finally in 80, once we got there was no pressure at all. It was having fun and doing what you did in your backyard. There's a ground ball. He picks it up and they win the World Series. I mean, all that stuff's going through your mind when the horses are coming on the field and the crowd's going crazy. And then the parade down Broad Street. Oh my God. That's something that you take to your grave with. That's etched in my mind forever. It's like it happened yesterday. I could not believe the people. And at that time, Phil, as you've been here a long time, JFK was still up. So we did the whole circle, trade circle. And then we go into JFK. I thought we were just going to drop the floats and everything. That place was 100,000 people in there. And to see that and the reaction of the players that have never been in something like that, that was something unbelievable.
And they in today's world, Lopes is out at first on your play.
Oh, no question.
But Lopes is out. Come on now, Jared. I'm telling you, I'm
not even close.
Like when people say, "Are you over the last couple of years?" I go, "Look, I'm not over 64 yet." It still shuts me up.
Right.
I have to give you this before I give you your last question. I was with Ruben Amaro about 10 days ago, doing something with him in the community, and he said, "How crazed are you about this?" I said, "Well, I have a story that, like people have heard about walking to the airport to meet the 64 team. I did do that from Southwest Philly. I walked, I was 10 years old, but I then stirred my memory. The Friday afternoon game against the Dodgers, where Danny Ozark did not take out the ball and put in Jerry Martin left field, and the ball goes off his glove. And that the game.
Yep.
And then the next night you lose in the rain, right?
In the rain, where they said it wasn't raining, it was pouring.
Right. So the next night, but that Friday afternoon, I'm a school teacher at this time. I'm out of college. I'm not some young, wild kid. I called the Phillies office after the game ended when Danny Ozark did not take out. And some young lady answered the phone thinking I was trying to buy tickets for the next night. And I said, I'm calling on behalf of all of our fan base. We would like Danny Ozark not to manage tomorrow night after what he just did to us. That's how bizarre this existence with the Phillies has been for me.
You know what, though? That tells you all about the fan base. They care.
Yes.
I mean, how many people are going to call up and say, hey, you like you said, they probably thought you were going to get tickets. You said he should be managing. And you know, make that story to go a little farther. I'm going out after the 8th, and he's running by me. I said, what are you doing? Because every time we had a lead, Jerry Martin was in there. He says, Danny wanted me to be on the field to celebrate. And I went, what? And he kept running. And lo and behold, man, the baseball gods, just like basketball gods, the baseball god said, oh, really? And well, let me hit this fly ball here that Jerry would have caught easy. And Bull, we know Bull was a great offensive player, and he was okay defensively, but not Jerry Martin. Goes off his glove, and the rest is history. But that tells you, that gives you an idea of what the fan base is all about. How many people do you think would have done that in LA or in Chicago? I don't think very many. But here, because they live and die with every single win. And I think that's great to have fans like that.
Yeah. So the final question is always the same. And this is a Make a Difference podcast, not a sports but you're like way beyond that. You're a champion in all ways. So who's made a difference in Larry Bowa's life?
Well, obviously my parents, more than anything. My dad had to work 3 jobs. So I got to see how tough life was. We didn't come from a lot of money. Everything my dad did, he did it for his family. My mom the same way. So I would say having a great parents, I should say, when you're growing up, when you're going through your teenage years, a lot of things come up, to be able to say that they handle things the way they're supposed to handle them. And I really believe that has a big influence on the way kids are growing up now. Is I think their parents, and nothing against them, a lot of them maybe have to work 2 jobs or they're not home. my mom was happy to be home all the time when my dad did all the work. So I had discipline at home when I came from school. Hey, I want to go play baseball. No, no, no. You do your homework, then you go play. I mean, it was like there was a schedule. And I think because of the environment now that we live in, there's parents that they're working hard to support their family, but the kids do whatever they want to do when they get home from school. There's no discipline. There's no, oh, I'll do my homework tomorrow. I don't need to do it now. Just little things like that make you a better person. And my mom and dad probably had the biggest influence on me growing up, no question.
Well, I knew this was going to be star-filled, and I will say this: there's a guy in heaven, my Jared's grandfather and my father, who is as big a Larry Bowa fan as is out there, and I know he's looking down and smiling. And Larry, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I
You're a special
appreciate it.
guy.
I appreciate it. This was fun. And, Phil, you've had an unbelievable career in Philadelphia. And you walk down the street, people know who you are. That means when that happens, and, even though you're removed from coaching there, and when you're walking down the streets of Philly, and hey, Phil, how's it going? I tell you what, it sends goosebumps up and down
Yeah, it
your
does.
spine that people know who you were, what you did. And I think that's what makes this city so special.
Amen. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you so
All
much.
right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Wow, 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 wow. What do you think your grandfather's thinking right now?
I think he's probably like, you got to talk to Boa? Are you kidding me? That was truly terrific, and it's amazing to hear that he pretty much has his finger on the pulse of Philly and what it means to be in Philly. I mean, listen, he was one for years and years and years, so you'd think he'd have a good idea of it, but it's amazing to hear how spot on these players that just saw success, saw the ups and downs, saw everything. What this means to the city is just it's beautiful to hear that they just get it, you know?
Just a regular guy. He's always been so kind and and connected with me. So thank you to Larry Bowa. That was and to Cindy Webster. Cindy Webster, who is a jack of all trades or a Jill of all trades. I don't know exactly how you would, uh, but she put that together. She kept us connected. We had a couple of setbacks getting into it. Your health in particular, but thank you, thank you, thank you to my dear friend Cindy Webster. And I'm surprised that she's not on this list of where have I been? And it's a little bit briefer, if that's a word, than normal, but
More brief.
yeah, more brief. Um, but I had a chance to connect with Super Networking for Student Athletes, Michael Salmon. Fascinating program that is going to be presented to a number of colleges. Yes, they're paying these young people, but what about the opportunities beyond that? What about Division II, Division III? Super networking for student athletes will become one of the hottest things on all college campuses in the next 2 to 3 years. Michael Salmon, dear friend, and he has kept me engaged and involved. We had a long conversation, a number of long conversations. That's one of the places I've been. VCU, the summer finale, the staff, the players wrapped up their workout. We wrapped up the staff to say, here's what's important over this next 10 or 12 days. Take care of yourself, get your family connected, get some rest, and let's get ready to get back at it at the end of August. Had an opportunity with tremendous young woman, Betsy Courtney, representing St. Joe Prep. I had a chance to visit with her. I welcomed Philip and Megan Martelli to Avalon. They hadn't been around for a while. Their children were with us, and we got to spend some time with them. Deal with some sad news. One of the places that I've been, Tom Ahern is a guy that I met when we were 12 years old in the schoolyard at St. Philomena's. Tom passed away, and dealing with some of my classmates from the class of 68 at St. Philomena's, arranging to be at his funeral services has been part of that. And I, again, want to reinforce, because his viewing and burial are coming up. Greg Glenn, player that was with us at Michigan, ended up at Tulane, Last time I saw him was at a Tulane Temple basketball game. Just had a smile and a love of life, and prayers continue for Greg and his family. So those are some of the places that I've been. We always have to do where I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering where you're headed. I hope it's on a bit of more of a hopeful note.
Starting to pick up. The Markwood Club. I believe it's the oldest high school basketball luncheon in the country. The Markwood Club is having a gathering. Their president, Joe Rabbi Rabzinski, North Catholic, LaSalle University. He's the president. Steph Caridio, whose husband Chris is the coach at Widener. Katie Gardler, Big Five Hall of Famer, married to Chris Gardler. Steph and Katie have come up with an idea to have a summer luncheon gathering in Wildwood, where this is a fact. The truth will be in limited supply because there will be a number of stories that will have maybe a shred of truth. In most instances, no truth at all. But that is a gathering that I'm planning on stopping by. Followed by Bringing Hope Home. We'll eventually have them on our podcast. But Tim Sherry is putting on a one-man show. He's doing the music. He's doing the dancing. Tim is he's basically a one-man show. And he has invited myself and Fran Dunphy and our wives to stop by and see his latest iteration of the Tim Fest, as he calls it. Be stopping by there. The North End Cup, a golf competition featuring captains Mike Hagan, great friend Mike Hagan, and Neil Hartman, another terrific friend. They have a golf competition that leads into a social event. I do not participate in any golf activity.
I had a feeling, yeah.
But I will stop by the
social part.
the
Sounds like
social
your
part.
your speed.
I will be there. And then the other thing that I will be doing is I'll be having dinner at the Jersey Shore with the greatest JV basketball coach in Catholic League history, not named Bill Cook. Bill Cook at Father Judge, he could tell you his record, but his number of wins is somewhere in the neighborhood. JV wins 600, 700, 800 wins. But this guy that I'm having dinner with was considered by many to have had the greatest career, having started as a JV coach in the Philadelphia Catholic League. So I'm really looking forward to connecting with Gino Auriemma, who was a Make a Difference podcast guest. We will be having dinner. And then we will continue the Philadelphia Coaching Academy. It's here. It's coming. We're going to get the locations down. The dates are set. September 27th through the end of October. Saturdays, one Sunday, 9 to 12. Who's invited? CYO coaches, middle school coaches, rec coaches, and we're going to focus not on the X's and O's. We're going to focus on how to run an efficient, effective practice. So excited to be joined by Ernie Gallagher and Mike Doyle, but the Philadelphia Coaching Academy, you're going to hear more and more and more about it. Can't wait for those signups and that we really lift basketball because of all these volunteers, and that we just want to give them a little bit of vacuum and allow them to do that. But other than that, it's the summer.
Yeah, low key, right?
Okay.
Oh, I bet. Well, if you want to get in touch with Phil in any capacity, if you're looking to make a difference, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That is where Phil is using an opportunity to make a difference in the classroom, in the workplace, on the court, or off the court. That is where you can get in touch with Phil. Now, we are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X, Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. Feel free to like and subscribe if you were watching on YouTube. If you were listening on Spotify, Apple, or elsewhere, please, please, please give us that 5-star rating. Now, Phil, obviously, I gave it away with the shirt today. on the Phils. That was a kind of a bit of a telegraphed move. I mean, everybody knew who we were getting on today, but I will say, man, have the vibes been better this season than they are right now?
No, and that's the trade for the closer, and they're starting to cook. They really are starting to cook. Larry Bowa talked about the bottom of the lineup, but to me, the pitching got a little dip, got to lift it. Nola, track his numbers in the Lehigh Valley. We got to make sure Nola gets back. We need the real Cy Young, Zach Wheeler.
Gotta rest that shoulder up.
Ranger, come on. No Lone Ranger. Come on, Ranger. Like, get Tonto with you. Let's get going. And 10-game road trip. Anybody out there looking for me? I'll be watching all 10, every pitch. Go Phils.
Go Phils.